In this podcast episode, Andrew Huberman explores the intricate relationship between fasting, meal timing, and health outcomes. He delves into topics such as the impact of fasting on blood glucose levels, the benefits of time-restricted feeding, neuroplasticity in learning, and the importance of dietary choices for optimizing metabolic and liver health. Huberman references a pivotal study published in Cell Metabolism, which reveals a concerning association between higher fasting blood glucose levels and increased mortality in humans. This finding stands in contrast to research conducted on mice, where lower blood glucose levels correlate with higher mortality rates. This discrepancy highlights the necessity of distinguishing between human studies and animal models when discussing dietary impacts on health. Huberman explains that both eating and fasting create specific biological conditions within the body. He stresses that the timing of food intake is as crucial as the type of food consumed. Citing a landmark study by Chris Gardner, he notes that there is no significant difference in weight loss between low-fat and low-carbohydrate diets, provided caloric intake is controlled. This finding suggests that adherence to a diet may be more critical than the specific macronutrient composition. The concept of time-restricted feeding, TRF, has gained traction for its potential health benefits. Huberman references a pivotal study by Sachin Panda, which demonstrated that mice allowed to eat within an 8-hour window, regardless of diet composition, maintained healthier weights, and exhibited improved metabolic health compared to those with continuous food access. This study laid the groundwork for understanding how TRF can positively influence health markers. While the 8-hour feeding window is not a strict rule, it serves as a practical outcome of the study's design. Huberman emphasizes that food intake timing should align with the body's natural circadian rhythms, suggesting that eating during the day and avoiding late-night meals can enhance health outcomes. He notes that 80% of genes in the body operate on a 24-hour cycle, and proper timing of food intake can help regulate these genes, leading to better health. Huberman warns against late-night eating, which can disrupt metabolic processes and lead to negative health consequences. Continuous food consumption throughout the day can increase inflammatory markers in the body, potentially resulting in conditions such as fatty liver disease. In contrast, time-restricted feeding allows for fasting periods that can reduce inflammation and promote liver health. The podcast highlights the importance of fasting and TRF for metabolic and overall health, particularly concerning liver function. Research indicates that fasting can enhance liver function by promoting autophagy, a process where the body cleans out damaged cells and regenerates new ones. Given the liver's crucial role in metabolism and detoxification, adhering to a fasting protocol can support liver health, improve metabolic flexibility, and potentially reduce the risk of liver-related diseases. Huberman outlines several foundational rules for implementing a time-restricted feeding protocol. First, it is recommended to avoid food intake for at least the first hour after waking. This practice maximizes the benefits of fasting, allowing the body to transition into a metabolic state that supports fat burning and cellular repair. Second, refraining from eating for 2 to 3 hours before bedtime is crucial for ensuring the body can enter a fasted state during sleep, essential for recovery and metabolic health. When determining when to start and stop eating, the ideal feeding window should align with the body's natural circadian rhythms. Huberman suggests starting the eating window around 10 a.m. to noon and ending it by 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for most people. This schedule allows for tapering off food intake before sleep, enhancing the benefits of the sleep-related fast. Eating too close to bedtime can disrupt the fasting state that occurs during sleep, vital for various physiological processes. Gastric clearance is another critical aspect of the fasting discussion. After eating, the body requires time to digest and clear food from the stomach and intestines, typically taking about 5 to 6 hours. Therefore, even if one stops eating, they are not technically in a fasted state until the food has been fully digested. This understanding underscores the importance of timing meals appropriately to ensure that the body can enter a true fasted state, particularly during sleep. The volume and type of food consumed can significantly influence how quickly one transitions from a fed to a fasted state. Larger meals take longer to digest, while smaller meals or liquid calories are cleared more quickly. Foods high in fat can slow gastric emptying, prolonging the time it takes to enter a fasted state. Conversely, fibrous foods can lead to a more gradual release of glucose, beneficial for maintaining stable energy levels. Precision in fasting is essential for maximizing the benefits of time-restricted feeding. Individuals are encouraged to select a feeding window that they can realistically adhere to, considering their lifestyle and social commitments. If aiming for an 8-hour feeding window, it may be wise to consider a 6 or 7-hour window to account for the tendency to underestimate actual eating times. This approach allows for flexibility while still reaping the health benefits associated with intermittent fasting. Huberman also addresses the implications of shorter feeding windows, specifically 4 to 6 hours. While some individuals may experience positive health effects from these shorter windows, there is a tendency for overeating during this limited time frame, which can negate the benefits of fasting. In contrast, a one-meal-per-day approach may help some individuals maintain or lose weight, but it is not universally applicable. The 8-hour feeding window is generally seen as a balanced approach that provides health benefits while being manageable for most people. The timing of protein consumption is crucial for those interested in muscle maintenance and hypertrophy. Research indicates that protein synthesis is enhanced when protein is consumed earlier in the day, particularly before 10 a.m. This timing aligns with the expression of specific clock genes that regulate muscle growth. Therefore, individuals focused on building or maintaining muscle mass should prioritize protein intake in the morning while still adhering to the fasting principles discussed. Huberman emphasizes the importance of transitioning into a time-restricted eating schedule gradually. Instead of abruptly changing from a standard eating pattern to an 8-hour feeding window, he suggests a more gradual approach. This could involve reducing the feeding window by about an hour each day over a period of 3 to 10 days. This gradual shift allows the body's hormonal systems, including those that signal hunger and satiety, to adjust, minimizing feelings of irritability and excessive hunger. The concept of glucose clearing is introduced, highlighting that light movement, such as a 20-30-minute walk after meals, can significantly accelerate the transition from a fed to a fasted state. Light exercise enhances gastric emptying and promotes the mobilization of glucose into muscles. Huberman notes that while high-intensity interval training, T, can also aid in glucose clearance, its effects vary depending on the time of day it is performed. Heat in the evening can lower blood glucose levels, aiding the transition to a fasted state before sleep. Huberman explains the biochemical pathways involved in fasting and feeding states, particularly focusing on mTOR, mammalian target of rapamycin, and AMPK, AMP-activated protein kinase. When in a fed state, mTOR is activated, promoting cell growth, while fasting activates AMPK, associated with cellular repair and autophagy. He emphasizes that the state of being fed or fasted influences the body's cellular processes, with feeding promoting growth and fasting promoting repair. Continuous glucose monitors are recommended for individuals interested in tracking their blood glucose levels and understanding how different foods and activities affect their metabolism. Huberman discusses the positive effects of intermittent fasting on gut health, particularly concerning conditions like irritable bowel syndrome and colitis. Time-restricted feeding appears to influence the expression of clock genes, which regulate the gut's mucosal lining and microbiota composition. This can lead to a healthier gut microbiome by reducing harmful bacteria and promoting beneficial strains. The implications of these changes are significant for overall digestive health and metabolic function. The podcast addresses the rising prevalence of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, and its association with obesity and metabolic disorders. Huberman highlights recent research indicating that brown fat tissue, which is beneficial for metabolic health, correlates with lower instances of NAFLD. Time-restricted feeding and cold exposure are both mentioned as methods to increase brown fat stores, which can help mitigate the risk of developing fatty liver disease. Huberman explores the hormonal effects of time-restricted feeding, particularly on testosterone and cortisol levels. A study involving elite cyclists showed that while time-restricted feeding led to a significant decrease in free testosterone levels, it also resulted in lower cortisol levels. This is important because high cortisol can inhibit testosterone's effects. The relationship between these hormones is complex, and the overall hormonal profile must be considered when evaluating the impact of fasting on health. The discussion extends to fertility, noting that both men and women need to maintain adequate hormonal balance for reproductive health. Huberman explains that insufficient food intake or extreme fasting can negatively impact fertility by disrupting hormonal signaling related to reproduction. This is particularly relevant for women, as leptin signaling from body fat is crucial for ovulation and menstrual health. Huberman emphasizes the benefits of an 8-hour feeding window, which has been shown to facilitate weight loss without the need for calorie counting. Studies indicate that adhering to this time-restricted eating pattern can lead to a natural caloric deficit, improved metabolic health, and reduced blood pressure. The 8-hour window serves as a practical guideline for individuals looking to optimize their health through dietary changes. Huberman explains that the concept of fasting is nuanced and context-dependent. Factors such as the timing of the last meal, the type of food consumed, and individual metabolic responses all play a role in determining whether something breaks a fast. He notes that drinking water, tea, or black coffee does not break a fast, while consuming sugar or large amounts of food likely will. He emphasizes the importance of context, suggesting that small amounts of certain foods, like a single peanut, may not break a fast if consumed under specific conditions. Huberman addresses the role of artificial sweeteners and plant-based sweeteners in fasting. While there is mixed evidence regarding their effects on blood glucose, moderate consumption of sweeteners like stevia may not significantly impact fasting. However, he cautions that individual responses can vary, and some people may experience increased hunger after consuming sweeteners, complicating adherence to fasting schedules. Huberman discusses glucose disposal agents, including behavioral strategies and compounds like metformin and berberine, which can help manage blood glucose levels. He highlights the potential benefits of consuming salt during fasting, as it can stabilize blood volume and mitigate feelings of lightheadedness or shakiness that some people experience when fasting. A small amount of salt in water can help maintain mental clarity and physical well-being during fasting periods. For those interested in exploring time-restricted feeding, Huberman recommends 2 resources: the My Circadian Clock website, which offers tools for logging food intake and understanding circadian rhythms, and the Zero app, which helps users track their fasting and feeding windows. Both resources are free and can assist individuals in establishing and maintaining their fasting schedules. Huberman also shares his personal experience with sauna use and its effects on blood glucose levels. He noticed a significant spike in his blood glucose after using a sauna, comparable to the spike one might see after a meal. Initially, some suggested that the readings from his continuous glucose monitor might have been affected by the sauna's heat. However, Huberman clarifies that the increase in blood glucose is primarily due to dehydration. When using the sauna, he lost a considerable amount of water without rehydrating, leading to a higher concentration of sugar in his blood. After the sauna session, his blood glucose levels tended to drop back to baseline or even slightly below. Huberman outlines an ideal intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding schedule, emphasizing that the best approach depends on individual circumstances and what one can consistently adhere to. He cites expert Sachin Panda, who advises against consuming food for at least 60 minutes after waking and avoiding any food, including sugar, for 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Huberman notes that ideally, one should aim for 8 hours of sleep, which contributes to the fasting period. He highlights that sleep-related fasting is crucial for various cellular repair processes throughout the body, including in the liver and gut, and for the expression of clock genes that positively affect health. The recommended feeding window is around 8 hours, as shorter windows, 4 to 6 hours, can lead to overeating and potential weight gain. While some individuals may find success with a one meal per day approach, Huberman points out that this is not practical for most people. He suggests that if someone aims for an 8-hour feeding window, they should account for the tendency to eat outside that window, especially on weekends. Therefore, if the goal is an 8-hour window, it might be wise to set it to 7 or 6 hours to ensure adherence.